ahead and get started. All right. Oh, Lushman, you're asking if you're speaking today. Let me check. I don't believe you are, but let me check. Hi everyone, I hope all of you are doing well and ready for another exciting meeting at the Future Leaders Galville Club. My name is Claire and it is an honor to be your current club president, and I would like to officially call this meeting to order. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of our guests, and we sincerely hope you all will enjoy and learn from this experience. The Future Leaders Galville Club is a Toastmasters club open to middle and high school students, in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Each meeting has 3 parts. First is the prepared speech section. Second is the table topics or impromptu speaking section. And finally is the speech evaluation section. And to start off our meeting tonight, before that, I would just like to, I do not believe she's here right now, but this past Sunday, Serena participated in the USA Group L speech contest, and she did a fabulous job. So we applaud her for her great effort, and I noticed a lot of improvements in her speech as well. So great job and congrats to her for representing FLGC at the USA contest. And with that said, I would like to introduce our Toastmaster for tonight, who is Arut Shelby. Take it away. Oh, are they here? Okay, I do not believe she is here. In that case, would anyone like to take on the Toastmaster role for tonight? Anyone who does not have a role?
Can I be Toastmaster?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Right, so I just need to introduce all the speakers, right?
Yes, so first you'll call on the functionaries. Let me see if I can, there's like a list. But you'll just call on the functionary, so if I remember correctly.
Is it on the agenda? I can just check that.
Uh, Not on the agenda, but you can call on the counter to give their introduction, then the grammarian, and then the timer. And
Okay.
I believe that is it.
Wait,
And then you'll call.
um, sorry. I believe I sent the script in the chat box right now.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks so much, Janya.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Wait, do I go? Oh, okay, okay.
You'll start.
Um, I would first like to call up our all counter to explain their role.
Hmm. Thank you, Toastmaster. As the counter, I will note words and sounds used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks during the meeting. Words may be inappropriate interjections such as, and, well, but, so, and sounds may be and Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster.
That was great. Now I'd like to call up our grammarian to explain their role.
So as the grammarian for tonight's meeting, I will note any good or bad usage or awkward usage of the English language, and I will also record however many times anyone who speaks throughout the meeting uses the word of the day, which is serendipity, and it means to find something of value or agreeable things by chance, especially when you're not looking for them. And an example of this in a sentence would be, they found each other by pure serendipity. So I encourage anyone who speaks throughout the meeting to try and incorporate this word into any of their sentences. Thank you, and back to you.
Okay, thank you. Now would the timer like to come up and explain their role?
Of course. As the timer, I will monitor time for each speaker. Throughout the meeting, I will listen carefully to the program participants and signal them. I will use green at the minimum required time, yellow at the middle of the expected time or agreed, and red at the end of the allotted or agreed upon time. I will also record each participant's name and actual time used.
Okay, thank you. And finally, would the general evaluator like to explain their role?
Okay, seems like actually Serena's not here today, so before we move on, we do need a replacement for a general evaluator as well as speech one evaluator. So any guests, anyone, relatively newer members, if any of you want to try out a new role, or if you don't have a role for today, would any of you like to volunteer to be either the general evaluator or speech one evaluator? Okay. How about Howard? Would you be interested to try out the speech one evaluator role for today?
I guess I can give it a try. Sure, I haven't any experience though, so please
Yeah,
excuse me if I don't.
yeah, no worries. I'm sure you've seen some of our past evaluations.
Yep.
Essentially, you can just say some strengths about the speaker and then maybe some areas for improvement. So that's basically how you can divide it.
All right, thank you. If there's a script that I have to follow, if you could send that to me, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no script, so you're free to structure it however you would like. Okay, and then would anyone like to be the general evaluator?
If no one wants to be, I can try.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for volunteering, Janya. Okay,
Wait.
great. That is settled. So back to you, Lushman, and you can just call in Caleb to
Yeah.
start.
All right, with that, we're going to start with our speeches. And our first speaker will be Caleb on his speech. Well done.
The president of the university walked over to me and shook my hand. Well done, he said. Today, I want to share about failure, and specifically how to avoid it. This summer, it took me 3 painful failures to truly understand that. Failure number 1, the failure of assumption. In early June, I had the opportunity to play cello with a concert band. Rehearsal was Monday at 7 p.m. I also had an online Spanish Toastmasters meeting that same day at 6 p.m. Naturally, I created a flawless plan. We leave home at 6 p.m. I join the meeting from my tablet in the car. We'd arrive at the rehearsal location around 6:20. I'd run the table topic session from the parking lot, leave the meeting a few minutes early, and walk straight into rehearsal at 7 p.m. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. As soon as we left the driveway, I opened my tablet and saw 8% battery. Not ideal for a Zoom meeting. We turned back so I could grab my charger, which made me late, but I told myself that they would understand. After all, I was busy, multitasking like a pro from the back seat. As we drove, the campus roads curved and twisted. which is not great when you're trying to stay balanced on Zoom. Zoom plus motion plus cello nerves equals dizzy Caleb. And then came the moment of doom. We pulled up, looked around the parking lot, and realized we were at Chaffee College, 10 minutes north of the freeway. Rehearsal was at Chaffee High School, 10 minutes south of the freeway. I had never clarified this with my parents. I had simply assumed that they knew. Now we had a 20-minute drive ahead of us. The table topic session had started. My dizziness was getting worse. And 5 minutes into that frantic drive, I told my parents to please pull over so I could at least catch my breath. But the moment we stopped, the screen went black. My tablet died. Failure number 2. Failing to double check. Later that month, my cello ensemble performed at the National Cello Institute's final concert. There were over 300 people in attendance, including well-known cellists and instructors. My group walked on stage. I set up my tablet, put down my page-turning pedal, and connected it. But it wouldn't turn the page. I tried everything. On and off. Reconnect. Restart. Tap. Tap harder. Nothing. I heard the silence growing in the audience. So with the most confident smile I could manage, I looked up at everyone and said, "We appreciate your patience." They laughed, a kind, understanding laugh, but I wanted to crawl into the floor and disappear. After 2 minutes of trying to fix it, I accepted my fate. No foot pedal. The only option was to tap the screen manually during a fast, high-energy arrangement of Pirates of the Caribbean. The performance went well, but later, backstage, I discovered the problem. A small button on the pedal had been pressed, changing its mode. If I had checked the pedal even once before walking on stage, everything would have been fine. And now comes failure number 3. Failing to learn from failure. In July, I attended a string orchestra camp at a university I was applying to. Their orchestra conductor ran the camp. I wanted to make a great impression, and I did. Principal cellist of the string orchestra, great rapport with everyone. Everything was going great. Friday's final concert came. It was split into 2 halves. Chamber groups first, orchestra second. My chamber group walked on stage. We bowed. I sat down. I reached to grab my rock stop, and it wasn't there. For those who are unfamiliar, a rock stop keeps your cello from sliding. Without it, the cello becomes a runaway sled. I should have immediately told our chamber coach. She would have grabbed one from another cellist within 10 seconds. But instead of doing the reasonable thing, I panicked. I ran backstage, leaving my entire chamber group just standing there and several hundred people watching. I searched frantically, but no rock stop. Thankfully, our coach figured out what was happening and handed me a rock stop. Again, I smiled at the audience. "Thank you for your patience. We really appreciate it." More laughter. We performed, but internally, I was devastated. I had repeated my mistakes. I hadn't double-checked, and I had assumed I had everything. And then, things got worse. Right before our last orchestra piece, the conductor turned to the audience. He thanked everyone for coming, and he acknowledged a special guest, the president of the university. He had been sitting there 3 rows back. He had seen everything. After the concert, the president walked up to me, shook my hand, and said, "Well done." I smiled, and in that moment, I realized, yes, it was well done. Not because the performance was perfect, but because all those failures had finally taught me what I needed to learn. Avoiding failure is all about preparation. Now, I double check everything. I make sure my tablet is charged, my equipment is packed, and the location is correct. And because of that, I've become more reliable and more confident. I prevent problems before they happen. So here's a lesson I want to leave with you. Do not assume. Double check everything. And when you do fail, learn from it immediately. If you do that, your failures will not follow you. They will improve you. And in the end, they'll be exactly what makes you worthy of your own well done. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster Luxman.
That was a great speech, and I think that a lot of us can agree with that. Failure is something that we all experience in our life. To move on to our next speech, it will be Selena's speech. Selena, the stage is yours.
Thank you. On April 14th, 2021, Vernon Maddox died. He was beloved by almost nobody and hated by many. He had been sentenced to prison for 150 years. What crimes did he commit that made humanity so angry at him? What could he possibly have done that sentenced him all those time in jail? He committed what is called a Ponzi scheme. You might not know what a Ponzi scheme. You might know everything about it. You might know everything about a Ponzi scheme that you could possibly know. But by the end of this speech, I want to make sure you've at least learned one new thing. So we'll start with what is a Ponzi scheme? A Ponzi scheme is a scheme where the schemer gets investors to invest into their investing. And if they think that they're getting their money from a reliable source. In reality, the reliable source is just other investors. That's right, they just take other investors' money and give it to the old investors, and they keep the money. That sounds a lot like something called a money fraud. And if you're thinking that it is, it is. But before we start and begin to talk about what a Ponzi scheme is, let's talk about ways it ends. There are three main ways it ends. Way A, the Ponzi schemer runs away with all the money and never gets caught again. Or, and this is another route, they die before anybody even catches on. This is the preferred route, only for the schemer though. Route 2, or Route B. They run out of new investors. There's no new money. If there's no new money, you can't pay the old investors. And everybody starts demanding their money back all in one shot. This is very bad for the schemer, and it usually ends up leading to Route C, Route 3. Police or another government agency catches them and sentences them or gives them a lengthy punishment. And this might be because of someone called a whistleblower. And a whistleblower is a person who is inside this organization, this company, and tells on them to the government agency. So now let's begin. You might be wondering, how can it possibly get investors if they haven't even built up a reliable source? You can't just simply say, I'll get it from somewhere and expect people to be, okay, I'll invest in you. That's not the way the world works. And there are a couple of reasons of why Ponzi schemes still work in this case. Number one, they are already deemed reliable. Sometimes, let's start with actual investing, actually getting the money, actually not committing money fraud. And then, after everybody thinks that they've been the perfect investment and that they should definitely invest into their scheme, they switch the flip. They turn it into a Ponzi scheme where they're getting the money and the people are actually just getting not what they deserve. Also, this is what it kind of goes like. An investor comes, invests, and gets some of their money back. They're so happy that they got a big and quick return that they go to all their friends and family and say, hey, I got a really good investment. And they go on and on and on about what a good investment they made. And then their family makes the investment. And it goes on and on and on. And the last thing is because of the way they talk. They don't simply say, oh, we're getting it from sources from who knows where. They use confusing and vague terms that make them seem like they know a lot about money, when in reality, they're just twisting their words and planting trust deep into your brains. So, you've heard me say Ponzi scheme quite a lot. Ponzi scheme this, Ponzi scheme that. But why is it called a Ponzi scheme? Why not scheme, or why not money scheme? Why not scheme where you take somebody else's money and give it to someone else? Well, it's because of a man named Charles Ponzi. Stuff that into your brain for later. Charles Ponzi was born in the early 1900s or the late 1800s. And then in the early 1900s, he moved from Italy to the United States. He had quite some time there before deciding to turn to the dark route. In the 1920s, he ran a huge, large-scale Ponzi scheme, taking money from people left and right, taking their money, stripping them of their cash. And the thing about Ponzi schemes is that you can't just walk away from it with the money that you were given. They are tightly woven, like strings in a web, like spiders of silk. Once a fly gets caught into it, it's not coming out. Their contracts are littered with words that make sense, but they can twist them to mean something else. So you can't just walk out of a Ponzi scheme. And that's why it's such a bad thing to do. So don't do it. And that's why Charles Ponzi is the reason a Ponzi scheme is called a Ponzi scheme. But he didn't invent it. Charles Dickens wrote a book called Little Dorrit. If you have read it, I know that it's amazing. But in Little Dorrit, they talk about a money fraud that's strikingly similar to this Ponzi scheme. Whether Charles Ponzi copied off of it or took notes off of it, we will never know. But where is it committed? Is it strictly online or strictly in the real world? The problem is it can be committed anywhere and everywhere. So how do we stay safe from it? How do we make sure that we keep our money to ourselves? Well, first of all, you gotta remember that if it's too good to be true, it probably is not true. Make sure that if you find something that sounds amazing, maybe double check the background. And if the background leads you to dead ends where you cannot find any more information on what they're talking about, maybe don't do it. So, now that you know all about the Ponzi scheme, let's wrap up with our final points. A Ponzi scheme is a scheme where the schemer takes money from newer investors and gives it to the old investors. It can happen anywhere and everywhere. It was coined by Charles Ponzi, but it was not named by Charles Ponzi, but indeed it was made by Charles Dickens. So, on April 14th, 2021, Bernard Maddox died, but the Ponzi scheme would live on forever. Thank you, Toastmasters.
That was a very informational speech, and that was also a very good speech. I think we'll be moving on to our third and final speaker, who will be Michelle. The stage is yours.
Yeah, so apparently Michelle is our table topics master today. But I forgot that at the start of the meeting, Michelle is not actually here. So, is there anyone, just like I believe last meeting, I think Devin jumped in last minute. Is there anyone who would like to be the table topics master for today? If you want to, we can give you 1 to 2 minutes. You can maybe search up some questions and we'll give you a little bit of time and then you can start.
I have some questions from last time that I didn't use, but it's not all of it, so I could do like some of it.
Yeah, sure. That would be great. Yeah, thanks, Selena.
1 second, let me find the questions.
Yeah, no problem. We can give you a minute.
And I might reuse some of my questions, but that's fine, I think. Okay, I'm ready. For my question 1, I will call on Kara. And your best friend has cheated on a major test and confides only to you. Will you report them or will you not? And explain why or why not.
If my friend cheated on a major test, I would feel terrible because even though it is not me who cheated on the test, I would hope that my friend, being a good person, would decide to be academically honest and not cheat on a test, especially one that is super major and important and possibly determines the path of their careers or lives. So, if my friend cheated, I would first talk to them about it. Before going to tell somebody else myself, I would most likely try to convince them to turn themselves in, because this would be the most morally correct thing for them to do, and I would do my best to convince them that cheating is unfair toward other students in a way that surpasses just being able to benefit without harming anybody. And however, if I was not successful in convincing them to turn themselves in, as would likely happen, I would then be faced with a very difficult choice. I believe I would, however, likely not turn them in, because although they may cheat now, in the end, it's only going to fall back on them if they develop this habit of constantly not learning and only trying to take shortcuts to success. And so that is why I would ultimately not turn my friend in.
That was a great impromptu speech, and I sincerely hope that your friend remembers their and that they're obliged to turn themselves in, but I think that's a very good answer. My next question will be for Henry. If you could only stay with one person, or if you could only live in one person's body for the rest of your life, who would you choose? And why? And you can't choose yourself.
If I could live in one person's body for the rest of my life. Oh God, that's a tough one. Okay. Probably one of my friends, because I feel like it's always better to understand how other people feel, because you you never know what someone is dealing with when no one is looking. This can lead to people feeling ignored or left out. So that is why I feel like I mean, I guess being one of my friends for the rest of my life may actually help me understand why they acted the way they did. And hopefully help me understand them better.
Yeah, so have a great time hypothetically living in one of your friends' lives. My next table topic question is for Eliana. Would you rather be very, very loud for the rest of your life or whisper or only be able to whisper for the rest of your life, and why?
If I could only yell, or whisper for the rest of my life, I think I would choose whispering. In general, I don't speak very loudly anyways, and I've never felt the need to. So, whispering seems like a better option. Whispering also has a lot of benefits, like when you're supposed to be quiet in like a class or a show and you want to talk to your friends or family. And if you can only speak really loudly, that wouldn't work because you would disrupt everyone else. Additionally, even if no one would be able to hear me, I can still communicate by signaling I have something to say or and just whispering it in their ear. It would also it would also help me not to talk that much when I'm not supposed to because, well, other people are farther away and it's harder to get their attention. So therefore, I wouldn't want to yell all the time because it's pretty inconvenient and sometimes you don't want people to hear what you're saying. But I would like to whisper because you can hide what you're saying if you need to, and it's more convenient. Thank you, and back to you, Selena.
Amazing. I would probably choose yell, but after the reasons, I think I would choose whisper too. My next question is for Andrew. If you could invent one thing that would make you famous, what would you choose? And it doesn't have to be something that's already made. You can make up your own thing.
If I could invent something that would make me famous, I would invent I would invent nuclear fusion. So that way everybody would have a clean energy source. And my version of nuclear fusion will be very cheap, and all you need is a pressure cooker uh and my special like ingredient. So then you just put the ingredient in the pressure cooker and boom, nuclear fusion. Infinite energy for everybody. And then you with this invention, I would begin selling it to the major energy companies and saying, guys, do you want some of this, like my new invention? And then they'll probably pay big money so that way they could get like this newest form of energy production, which is also the most efficient, which will make the world like cleaner. Then, since it only requires a pressure cooker, I can just use this to set up power plants in like more rural areas because that way everybody would have access to power and like people would be able to like use electrical appliances even if they don't have like a power, they aren't connected to a power grid or something. So yeah, I think I'll make a lot of money off of this is because my invention is going to be very good, and since it's going to be relatively cheap for me to make, I can use the stocks to make profit.
Yeah, I'll be buying 50 of those, so check my order. My next question is for Luke Schumann. Um, would you rather be a king living in a rebellion or a servant living in a normal life? And whichever one you choose, tell me what you would do in a day in your life.
That's a great question. If I was ever in a situation to be able to choose to either be a king in a rebellion or a servant living a normal life, I'll probably choose to be a king in a rebellion because if I was a king in a rebellion, then the reason that the rebellion started would probably have been my fault. So it would probably be better for me to work it out myself and solve the problems that I created. And also if you look at it, if you're able to solve the issue, then well, you're back to a normal life, and your life would probably have been better than it was before the rebellion started. And if you were to be a servant, that would just be a boring life because you would just be like doing work for somebody else, and you wouldn't really like ever be benefiting your own life. You would just be working for someone else. So if I ever had the choice to pick between a king and a rebellion, or a servant living a normal life, I would for sure pick being a king in a rebellion because it would just be me fixing the problems that I created. So I could just live my life out like that. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully everything in the rebellion goes well. And my next question is for Hillary. Um, that's kind of like it. What's if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what food would you choose? And no, this food cannot have categories to it.
If I could only eat one food for the rest of Wait, is my mic working? Okay. If I could only eat one food for the rest of my life, I would choose a sandwich. Firstly, if I was only to eat one food for the rest of my life, it needs to be something that can cover all my nutritional needs. A sandwich would contain bread, it could contain lettuce, vegetable and other vegetables like tomatoes. It could also contain meat and cheese, which covers all my nutritional categories. I'm assuming that it doesn't include drinks, so I could still drink water and milk and anything else that I might need in case my sandwich isn't enough to last me. That way I can both enjoy my food and survive.
Amazing. I would definitely choose sandwiches too because they're such a staple of my meals nowadays. Um, my next one, if have I already called on Anthony? No, I don't think so. My next question is for Anthony. What is your favorite hobby and why do you do it?
My favorite hobby is, I guess, reading. I like reading because it's pretty interesting. Like, I don't like touching grass because it's too painful. And I like continuing my non-touch grass streak. And also, reading is very enjoyable. Like, depending on which book you read. If I read educational book, my parents would think it's learning. Also, if I read a nonfiction book, I can read it for very long. These two scenarios are both good for me and my parents. Therefore, reading is a good option. Also, reading can make my education better. Your parents want your education and you to get into a good university. So, therefore, you should study more.
Yeah, reading is definitely one of my favorite hobbies too. So, okay, let me see if I have one more. My next one is for Angelina. What is your ideal day of your life? And tell us what your day would be.
Thank you, Selena, for your question. So personally, a day in my life, an ideal day in my life, would consist of me getting all the tasks I need to get done. My biggest challenge in life is procrastinating, and I tend to put off a lot of things until the last minute, and I find myself rushing and panicking to get them done. I write out a to-do list every day, but I rarely ever actually complete it. If I was able to actually do all the tasks that I want to get done in one day, I would feel really satisfied and feel like I had a really good day overall. An ideal day in my life would also consist of spending time with both my family and friends. And I also really enjoy participating in some of the clubs and extracurriculars I'm into. So, in conclusion, I think an ideal day of my life would consist of getting up and going to school, coming home, spending time with my family, and getting all my work done. and going to sleep early so that I can actually get 8 hours of sleep. So thank you, and back to you, Celine.
That would probably be an ideal day of my life, and I struggle with procrastination too. I currently have a very long to-do list to finish up my other to-do lists. So my next question is for Claire. And this is a little similar to Angelina's, but what would your ideal vacation spot be?
Thank you, Selena, for the question. Because I have reused one particular location for too many table topics responses, I believe for this table topics response, I shall pick a place that does not exist on any map in the entire world. While some people, particularly myself, might dream to go to New Zealand one day, my actual ideal getaway is a place I like to call the island of unfinished thoughts. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny island, not even on a map because it's too tiny to ever be seen. It's a quiet, tiny little world where the Wi-Fi is terrible. The sunsets are so bright that it's blinding. And most importantly, your brain finally has its time to be free, to relax, and to breathe. Imagine beautiful beaches, not lined with grains of sand, but rather your thoughts and your dreams and aspirations. Think about the story you began in 5th grade about a dog chasing a squirrel, but you never got to finish because you got distracted by your iPad. Imagine your dreams and your wildest thoughts of the future you that you would like to become. This is the island where those dreams and thoughts can come true. Just one day, if you go to that beach and you sit on the water, your thoughts will begin to move, and the waves will carry your thoughts all across the island, and your dreams miraculously will come true. And you may ask, how will they come true? Well, you must visit the island of unfinished thoughts to find out, and that is on another date. So thank you for watching my ad, and back to you, Selena.
That sounds like a very beautiful place to visit, but I believe it will take, and I don't think I'm using this word correctly, pure serendipity for me to ever find it. So, wait, let me check if is it time? I think. Yeah, I think I'm finished. So that's the end of our table topic section, and back to you, Toastmaster.
Oh, it seems like Lushman left, I believe. I'm not sure if he will be coming back. So I will just continue it from here. Thank you, Selena, for the wonderful table topic section. And now I will pass it on to General Evaluator Janya. Take it away.
Thank you, Claire. So let's start with our evaluation portion of the meeting. Yay. Starting starting with the outcounter, myself. Let's go. So we had the speaker number 1, Caleb. I did not catch anything. Speaker number 2, Selena. I didn't catch anything either. rather thought it was an informational speech. Coming to the table topic portion of the meeting, Clara had a few errors here and there, but it was great. Henry had wait. Henry had a few pauses and some ums, but overall it was great. Eliana had one pause, I believe. It wasn't very long, so it was great either way. Andrew had a few filler words such as like and one or two crutch words, such as oh, I'm using the crutch word. Never mind. Such as and us. Luxman had a few ands, but overall it was great. Hillary, I didn't catch anything. Anthony, I did not catch anything either. Angelina, I don't think I caught anything either. It was a great response. And Claire, I did not catch anything, and it was a great response. And yeah, and calling on the next. Okay. So now let's call on the grammarian to give us the grammarian report.
Yeah, I would love to, but I do believe the speech evaluations haven't been given yet, so we should probably do speech one evaluator Howard first.
I'm so sorry.
All right. Thank you. So, Caleb, you have made an amazing speech today, definitely. And I think some of the highlights that really stood out to me are three things. Your humor, all right, is one I think is probably your strongest point. You had a lot of great humor and a lot of great metaphors and foreshadowing as well, which really helped us build suspense and keep us engaged throughout the speech. I also think that you made extremely well utilization of time. You had a slow speech manner, meaning you didn't like rush through the speech like some people. And you also didn't like keep it too slow that we get bored. I will admit there were some awkward pauses, but all in all, I do think it was really well. And I really liked both your facial expressions and your hand movements because they went really well with the speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. And calling on the second speech evaluator, who is Claire. Claire, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Janya. Selena, listening to your speech, I finally understood that a Ponzi scheme is like promising people pizza when you actually never ordered any. Future leaders and Selena, today my evaluation will be divided into three parts: what you excelled at, what you may want to work on, and one challenge that you can improve on future speeches. Firstly, Selena, I absolutely loved your confidence. Since the very start and throughout the entire speech, your presence took up the entire screen and your voice was very loud and very clear, and all of the audience could hear your speech in its entirety. You had lots of potential to be very entertaining, and I loved how you incorporated those small humorous bits throughout the speech. Second, I loved how at near the end of your speech, you had real advice and solutions for the audience instead of it being a purely informational speech. That way, once we have finished listening, we know what to take away from your speech, and you even gave us a summary to recap your speech so that you knew we would not forget. But one tiny thing leading off of that to make this even stronger is if you had one specific message or action that you want the audience to take away. If you say that at the very end of your speech, it can make your speech even more memorable and allow us audience to take away something specific. All right, after the Ponzi scheme is over and all the fun is done, we need to confront the problem. And likewise, I would like to offer Selena a couple of suggestions to improve her speech. Firstly, I would love to have seen it if you could have stood up. I knew you were sitting down throughout the whole speech and it's more comfortable, but if you stand up, your confidence and power throughout your speech can be even more noticeable. And if you were able to move across the room, so if you started with a description of what the Ponzi scheme is, maybe on this side of the room, and then go to the middle for another part, and then the other side for another part, and then back to the center, that can give us a better idea of the structure of your speech and can make you more engaging as a speaker. Secondly, you do a great job talking very casually with the audience, but I would have loved to seen it if you could utilize pacing even more during your speech. So for instance, I noticed you kind of talked at a relatively same speed throughout the speech. Instead, if you maybe talked a little bit slower at some more uncertain or surprising parts of the speech, and then a little bit faster, maybe if you were talking about a story or a humorous moment, that can allow certain parts of your speech to land with the audience and overall be more memorable for us. And then finally, I have one more recommendation for you to challenge yourself with, which is having a personal story be the key component of your speech. Because your speech is very, very informational. Sometimes from an audience point of view, it's quite hard to follow along or stay awake during very informational speeches. So I would suggest that at the very start of your speech, talk about something personal or a story of someone else. That way we can know why you chose this topic. Why is it important to you? You can hook us in. And you can even think of a metaphor that can carry through your speech, and you can circle it way back at the very end of your speech and use that same metaphor. So overall, Serena, great job on your amazing speech. I loved how you had lots of confidence and real solutions for the audience. But if you focused on standing up, using pacing, as well as thinking of a stronger personal story, Selena, I'm so confident that you will achieve even greater heights in your future speeches. Thank you, and back to you, Janya.
Thank you, Claire. And to be honest, I did not catch anything for both the evaluators because I was going crazy. So I'll just pass it or to the grammarian Angelina.
Yeah, thank you so much, Janya. So overall today, I only counted one usage of the word of the day, which was by Selena. And I'll start off with Caleb's speech. So I like how you said Zoom plus motion plus cello nerves equals dizzy Caleb. That was really humorous. And also, I think in the beginning you said, today I want to share about failure. So maybe you could change that to, today I want to share lessons or things you can learn or things you should learn from failure or something like that. For Selena, speaker two, you had a lot of good phrasing. Some of them I caught were they switched the flip and turned into a Ponzi scheme, and also in reality, they're just twisting their words and planting trust deep into your brain. And another one was they're tightly woven like strings of thread and like spider silk. So those were all really good phrasing and metaphors. So next for Kara, I liked how you said in the end it's only going to fall back on them. For Henry, I like how you said you never know what someone is dealing with when no one is looking. For Eliana, you said it would also help me not to talk that much. And I think it would be better to say something like it would also help me talk less, or it would also help me to not talk as much. For Andrew, I didn't catch anything. For Lushman, you said you wouldn't ever be benefiting your own life. You might want to change that to something like you wouldn't be benefiting yourself. For Hillary, I didn't catch anything. For Anthony and myself, I did not catch anything either. And for Claire, I liked how you said the sunsets are so bright that it's blinding. And also for Claire's speech 2 evaluation, I like how you started with a Ponzi scheme is like promising people pizza when you actually never order any. So overall, today we had a lot of good usage of grammar, but hopefully next time more people will use the word of the day. So thank you, and back to you, John.
Thank you, Angelina. Now we have our timer. Kara. Kara, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Janya. So starting off, Caleb as speaker 1 had a time of 7 minutes and 4 seconds, and Selena had a time of 7 minutes 14 seconds. That is fine because if it were a contest, you would not be disqualified. For table topic speakers, I had a time of 2 minutes flat, Henry had a time of 1 minute and 15 seconds, Eliana had a time of 1 minute and 35 seconds, Andrew had 1 minute 30, Lakshman had 1 minute and 4 seconds, Hillary had 45 seconds, Anthony 55 seconds, Angelina 1 minute and 17 seconds, and Claire 2 minutes and 23 seconds. So, as a reminder, the time frame is 1 to 2 minutes. So for Hillary and Anthony, if you could just try to squeeze out a little bit of a longer answer, that would be ideal. And then for our evaluators, Howard had a time of 1 minute and 7 seconds, which should be made longer if possible to the time frame of 2 to 3 minutes. And Claire had a 4 minute and 14 minute speech, which is overtime, but we appreciate the extra feedback. And then our functionaries, Janya had 1 minute and 45 seconds, and Angelina had 1 minute and 50 seconds, which are, again, overtime, but we appreciate the feedback. So, thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator Janya.
Thank you, Kara. Oh yeah, it's my time for evaluation or feedback. So we had 2 speeches today, which were really great. Caleb had a speech about his experience in having too many things and losing control and how it can lead to failure. And that was really a great connection between both the topics. Selena had the second speaker, Selena, had a speech about Ponzi schemes, which is really informational and I think should be known by everyone. Overall, even though we missed a lot of people today, I think we got everyone filling in the spots. That was really great. Thank you everyone to take up your role on spot today. I think that made the meeting go as usual. I don't think I have much evaluation to say, so I think I'll just hand it back to Claire.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much, Janya, for the great general evaluation. And thank you to everyone for a very smooth meeting today, even though we were missing some of our members. A thank you to Lakshman for taking on the Toastmaster role. And then thank you, Selena, for stepping up for Table Topics Master, and Janya for General Evaluator, as well as Howard for Speech 1 Evaluator. You all did a great job, even though you all took on the role last minute. So great job, everyone, for your effort. And with that being said, this is just a reminder that next week, because the next Wednesday is the day before Thanksgiving, we decided in a previous meeting that we would just take that week off. That way you guys can spend the time with family and relax or do whatever you're doing. So for next week, we will not be having a meeting. So if you hop on, there should be no one here. But the following week, we should be able to resume our normal meeting. So technically, we will see each other in 2 weeks. So it will be December the next time we see each other. All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments they would like to add? Okay. If not, then we will see each other in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.